morning, Core. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to give a few moments. We're watching some people trickle in here. Adrian, Chris, good morning. Hi, Jeremiah. Great. Welcome. Just give a few more moments. Hi, Amber. Oh. So, Core, I'm a little confused by your scarf. Which country are you rolling? What are
Well, I
you?
don't actually have a country jersey on. My family is big Liverpool fans, so I pulled out
Oh,
my Liverpool jersey, and
oh.
it actually started to snow here in Calgary this morning, and I'm a little chilly, so I had to pull out my club scarf as well. So, it's the same sport, even though I don't have a country jersey on.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I couldn't find my jersey, but I'm
You're
Vancouver based. So yeah,
sport
Vancouver
in
is one of
Canada.
the host cities, and I've got it's going to be a busy time for sure.
It is. And I can imagine, I mean, as I mentioned, my family, they're Liverpool and a lot of them are England fans. So we're going to have some England sort of battles throughout World Cup, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be
That's
interesting.
going to be great. Awesome. Okay, well, let's get started and jump into it. So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's topic is all about the upcoming World Cup. You've seen so much content around it, there's lots of conversation. And what we wanted to do today is kind of bring in some key strategies, things that we've learned over the years. I mean, I know I said I'm from Vancouver. We hosted the Olympics in 2010. There were tons of learnings. And so, yeah, there's a lot for us to go through today, and I'm joined by our wonderful general manager, Corinne Harris. So, Corinne, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Before I hand things over to Core, couple housekeeping items. So this is being recorded. Please use the chat. Send through your messages. We've got the Q&A as well. We will share the slide deck with you as well as the recording, so you'll be able to catch that up, share that to any team members that you want to as well. And then, yeah, in our resources tab as well, we'll be sharing some great tips and tricks, downloads, some good material for you to read and take a look at. And without that, we'll get started. So without further ado, Corinne, let's jump in.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Nikki. And thanks everyone for joining us today. Really excited to talk about this amazing event that is coming to North America in 78 days. So it's going to approach pretty quickly. Yeah, so let's look at what we're gonna chat about today. So what I thought we would cover going through this is I just want to start by doing a quick introduction about who Operto is, a little bit about our history, and then, yeah, talk about the overview of the upcoming World Cup and what people can expect. And we're going to dig into the top 5 problems that we see surface around large events. And these problems, it doesn't just have to be about FIFA. It can be about all sorts of large events. As Nikki mentioned, Vancouver based. I was actually in Whistler during the Olympics as a property manager. We had very similar problems then. But this can be things like, a concert or, summer festivals. This is applicable to any sort of large event. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the problems, the solutions, and of course, what we always like to talk about here at Operto, how we can automate things and try and get more repeat guests. Of course, we'll leave a little time at the end for some Q&A. Let's dig in because we got lots to cover. First, I'll start with just a brief history and overview of Operto. So Operto was founded in 2016 in Vancouver. When it was founded, we had some really, really fast growth and grew to 100 plus team members globally. And we have clients in over 30 countries, probably even more than that now around the world. We've raised quite a bit of funds along the way as we continue to grow our product and enhance our product. And one of the things that people know about Operto is that our customers always come first. We really thrive on having great customer service. Our 98% CSAT score really shows that as well. So that's just a little bit about Operto, who we are. Let's dig into where we sort of fit into the landscape. So there are a lot of people, a lot of technologies out there that have solved the booking experience. So a lot of tools that have perfected how you can get more bookings, more direct bookings, or get more bookings through OTAs and things like that. But nobody has ever really looked at perfecting the experience after the booking. And that's really where Operto decided to jump in and try and help property managers to really make sure that after the guest had booked, everything is really great and, get more repeat guests, more five-star reviews. So we really try and fit into the space after the booking, everything from pre-arrival to the check-in to making sure that things are great while your guests are staying with you in house, right to the checkout, and then even doing the services afterwards of cleaning it and doing your turnover for the next guest. And we'll dig a little bit more into how we do that later on. And what we will cover later on, and really some of the things we're going to be talking about today, are our three main pillars that we sell. So we have Operto Guest, we have Operto Tech, which is smart locks, things like that. And then we have our Operto Teams, which are doing your inspections, your maintenance, cleaning, all of that. Let's dive into the topic of the day. So FIFA World Cup is coming up, kicking off June 11th and going to July 19th. So as I mentioned, 78 days away. That sounds like a lot of time to get things prepped, but it'll go really quick. And so, yeah, we thought let's talk about this early so that you guys have some ideas and some plans you could start putting into place now. Let's do a quick poll before we get started. I want to make sure you guys can interact with this and you're not just nodding off listening to me talk. Poll number one, how prepared are your operations for the 2026 World Cup? So let's have some options in there of how are you guys feeling right now? We still have a couple of months to get prepared. Have you started preparing yet? Are you totally prepared for it? Are you just pulling out your old playbook from previous events? Let's hear from everybody on where you're currently sitting at. Amazing. So I can see the results that have come in here. It looks like most people are feeling somewhat prepared, but there's still some operational gaps, some areas for things to be prepared. We've got one person that says they are very prepared, which is amazing. So for that one person who had said that, hey, if you've got any tips for the group, pop those into the chat. But let's dive into some of our ideas of how we can move you guys from being somewhat prepared to being very prepared. So let's just talk a little bit about where is this happening? So FIFA 2026 is happening throughout North America. So it's covering 3 different countries, a lot of different cities that it's covering as well. So it's kind of one of these roving events that's going on. So lots of different areas that are going to be affected. We do have some primary host cities. And so we're going to touch a little bit on how the hosts in the primary cities are going to be affected by this large event. But whenever there's a large event like FIFA, we also have secondary cities. So surrounding cities or towns or areas even that will also get a knockdown effect from this. So we're going to really dive into how that's going to affect primary cities and how it might differ a little bit from secondary cities or places along the way. And we'll dive really into what that looks like and what guests you might expect or, different problems that you might experience, whether you are a primary or a secondary city. So we have some historical information about what happens at big events like this. What trends do we usually see, and what guest behaviors do we usually see? So trends are that we are usually going to see occupancy spikes. So when a match is happening in your city or in if you're in one of the surrounding cities, when a match is coming up and it is starting to move forward, you're going to see spikes in your occupancy. You're also going to have the lovely ability to be able to increase your ADR. So a lot of times we can see that people can go anywhere to 2 to 4 times higher in those peak times with their ADR. And you're going to see booking compression. So you're going to have a lot more people, a lot more turnovers, a lot more bookings happening within a tighter time period. We also see things like group travel. So events like this, a lot of times Multi-families will be going to an event like this, or even clubs or groups will be traveling, maybe even teams to attend these events. So you're going to see group travel, multi-cities, especially international travelers. If they're coming over all the way over to North America, they're going to want to take in more than one match. And so they might be jumping, from Toronto down to New York. They might even then go, hey, let's go to Mexico City. So we're going to see multi-city itineraries and longer stays. So quite often people might say, well, yeah, we're going to come in for a match, but we want to go and also experience the surrounding area or maybe take in multiple games. So longer stays as well. So those are some of the trends that you might expect to see. What does this mean operationally? Well, when we see peak demand periods, as mentioned previously, you're going to have more turnovers and often you're going to have shorter time frames, tighter time frames to be able to turn those properties over, which is then going to have increased coordination across all of your teams. So making sure that you have everyone moving in the right direction to be able to accomplish everything in those timeframes and that things are getting reported correctly so you can be ready for that next guest. When people are paying higher prices, they're going to have higher expectations. So a lot of these guests, they're spending a lot of money. This might be the trip of a lifetime for a family or for a team. And they're going to have very high expectations that go along with that high price tag, which means they're also going to be expecting faster response times. So they're really looking for you to be able to answer their questions quickly. They're going to be anxious to get to the game, check into their unit, and they're going to expect that communication to be fast and accurate. And that means you're going to have less margin for errors. They're not going to be as patient. You're not going to have as much time, which ultimately is going to put greater pressure on your team to make sure that things are staying consistent, even though this is going to be a very busy time. Let's pause there and do another quick poll and find out from everyone here, what are the operational areas that you think or that you know are going to become the biggest challenge during a peak turnover time like this? Is it your scheduling? Is it that increased guest messaging? We want to hear from you. What gives you the most anxiety of being like, this is the area I need to focus on? All right. Oh, we kind of have a tie here. So fairly even Steven on where people are feeling about this one. Most people, we've actually got a tie between managing guest communications. So yeah, that's a big one. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. Preventing maintenance or property issues. Yeah, especially with those group travelers, sometimes that's going to have more items that are going to come up that you're going to have to manage. And managing property access and security. Okay, so that's kind of where everybody's feeling the areas are. Great news. We're going to dive into the details of those ones here as we get started. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we are going to cover the 5 biggest issues that we have come across or that we've heard from people, even in the poll that you guys have said are top of concern. But we're also going to talk about what are the solutions to those. Let's get started on this. The very first one is going to be guest communication. So this was one of the ones that you guys had picked. So part of the problem with guest communications is that during events like this, people are going to be inquiring about things that might not be the usual questions, right? It might not necessarily be, hey, what's the Wi-Fi password? Or where is, the closest grocery store? They're going to be asking things about the event and they're going to expect you and your team to know. So like, hey, we're a group. Is there enough parking for all of us? Or where's the best place to go? Where there's going to be a lot of action after the game or where I can go watch the game. So you're really going to need to know that sort of information to pass it on to your guests because they're coming in from other places and they don't know your city or where they should go. So how can we fix this? We'll start preparing automated guest messaging. So start preparing automated messages that can go out to people that are attending with some facts, things like where they can park or what's the best transit to take to get to the game so they don't have to worry about parking. Different things like that that you could pre-send out to them to just sort of inform them before they even arrive or on the day of arrival. Digital guidebooks are great for guest communication because you might send them the email a week before they come, but maybe they kind of read it and forget about it. And it's on the day of the game that they go, oh, I want to know this. They can open that digital guidebook, answer the question right away, see everything that they need right there. Also, really easy for you to update it. Should something change suddenly, you can quickly go in and just update that guidebook. Boom, it's there for your guests. Whereas if you have printed material, it gets stained, it gets outdated, it gets lost. So really take the time now to set up those automated messages. Prepare them right now of when do we want to send out, pre-game information or schedule updates, or even check-in information that might be different. Maybe they have to take a different route to get to the house because of traffic. Start to prepare things like that and set it to just automatically go out to those guests. Problem number two, staffing shortages and turnovers that are going to create bottlenecks. So, especially if you're going to be turning your properties over, we know that you're going to have a lot more same day turnovers, a lot more inspections that you need to do within a tight time frame. And not only will that create bottlenecks, but the event itself could create bottlenecks. So because you're going to be expecting that higher occupancy and higher turnover, you really want to try and automate this and plan ahead and get vision on it. So this is where we suggest having a tool that you can automate your scheduling. It's going to automatically create all of those tasks that need to happen, even assign them to the regular people that do the work. Make it very easy for you to see the forecasting. You want to be able to keep an eye on, okay, the day before game day or a couple of days after, how many cleans do we have? How many hours do we need? Do we need to go find some part-time contractor workers to help us fill in? You want to centralize your task management so that if someone gets stuck in traffic or calls in sick, you can easily go to one place, make those changes, and make sure you stay on track. You want to have really good visibility into what's going on. Your homes are spread out all over the place. And you want to make sure that you know where your cleaners are at, or if someone's calling and saying, the game starts in 2 hours, can we check in? That has the clean been done? What's going on? You need to be able to see that without having to make a ton of phone calls or send out a ton of messages. And as previously mentioned, you want to be able to adjust your schedule quickly because we all know things are going to come up. You are going to have to constantly be pivoting. Number three, unauthorized guest and property security risks. So this was the third one that you guys had picked in the poll. When you have large events like this, it just leads to overcrowding. People are going to be traveling in groups, but it can also even bring a lot of, scammers and people like that. And you want to make sure your property is secure. You want to make sure that the code is only going to be accessible for the time they should be there, that it's going to the right guest. Hey, if something comes up and you do have some guests that maybe you aren't happy with and you want to not give them access to the property, you want to be able to revoke those codes. So it's really important to be able to get that information in there. When we were talking about these problems, it reminded me of during the Olympics. We one time had a guest that checked out, but then was going to watch a downhill skiing event. And they realized after the event had ended that they forgot something at the property. So they just went back to the property at about 5 o'clock at night and used their code to let themselves in. And we didn't have gated codes. So the guest actually went into the unit and walked into the next guest that was there. Not what anybody wants to have happen because you now have two unhappy guests. So you really want to make sure that this part is secure, but also automated. Fourth problem is increased wear and tear and property damage. So again, if you're going to have large groups traveling, higher occupancy, things are going to happen. They're going to be naturally just more wear and tear, more people in the house. But also, if they've got a large group sitting in the living room watching the game, they might be moving furniture around from other rooms or just accidentally turn things over. You really want to make sure that you are inspecting the property prior to and documenting where everything is, that you are fixing things before the next guest checks in, and you're just standardizing everything. So you really know before the guest checks in, it's all fine. And then if something isn't there afterwards, you have the ability to see what's going on. Lack of real-time operational visibility. So as mentioned, if you've got guests calling you, or you need to know, like, are we on track to have all the homes ready by check-in time? You really need to be able to see that visibility of what's going on. You don't want to have to be calling all of your cleaners or calling your maintenance people to find out, hey, have you fixed that yet? Is that clean done yet? You just want to log into one dashboard and be able to see what's going on, pull up the verification photos to make sure everything looks good. Even if a guest happens to dispute something or they do damage something, you want those timestamp pictures so you can do a guest claim or even come back to them to say, oh no, we knew that that lamp was there, or whatever the case might be. So you really want to be able to easily have that visibility across all your homes. So those are the five main problems. We know there are many more, but we think that if you tackle these ones, they're really going to help you be able to prevent most of these things from happening and then deal with other things that you might not be able to predict. So what are the risks if we don't do some preventative and we don't prepare to solve these problems? What are the risks? Well, we know one of the risks is that you could get poor reviews. And you don't want to let that happen during this peak demand period. Reviews stay with you for a long period of time. So we really want to make sure that we are protecting them. As we talked about before, these guests are going to be paying a higher price. They've probably been looking forward to this trip for a long time and dreaming of it, and they know exactly how they want it to go. So they have high expectations. You need to make sure you're delivering on that so that they leave you that 5-star review. What are some of the things that they're expecting? Well, they want it to be spotless, hotel-like cleanliness. Even though they're staying in a home, they want it to still be as if they were walking into that pristine 5-star hotel. They want those crisp sheets. They want everything to be perfect. All of the baseboards to be done. That is what their expectation is. That's their first impression when they walk into the house. They want a seamless, frictionless check-in. They want to just be able to go to the house, park where they know they need to park, and gain access to the house, drop their stuff, and go enjoy their World Cup experience. So really important, again, to make that first impression and that first entry as frictionless as possible. And along the way, for either getting into the house or as they're staying, they want fast, reliable communication. These small things, not being able to answer or help them with it, can really feel like bigger problems to these guests that have been looking forward to this or have paid such a high price point. So what are some things you can do to protect those reviews and make sure that you are delivering on what they are expecting? Pre-arrival inspections. To me, this one is so big of that if you can get your team to go in there and do that final check before the guest arrives. Walk through and make sure that they are, checking, is everything first impression looking great? Is everything where it's supposed to be? Is it stocked correctly? Are there enough glasses and plates for how many people are going to be watching the game or staying within the house? Cleaning, you 100% want to check the clean. You want to make sure that the kitchens and the bathrooms and everything is absolutely spotless so that that guest is walking in and feeling like they're the first person that has stayed in this house. You want to be able to report issues really fast. So in between those turnovers, it's very important that your cleaners or your inspectors are sending you issues right away. You might only have 5 or 6 hours in between guests. And if your team goes in there and sees that there's a carpet stain or there is a hole in the wall, you need to know about it right away so you can get somebody over and get on it right away. So having photos and videos and being able to digitally report these things and notify people, really, really important when you've got that crunch time. And then automate your guest communication. So, I mean, you guys even said in the poll, you know, guest communication is one of your highest concerns. So try and automate what you can. Try and think about what does the guest want to know and automatically send them that information, like their check-in instructions, and make sure that, 24 hours or the morning of their arrival, you're sending them their door code so that they're not feeling anxious about how am I going to get in and what needs to happen. And even send them information about the event that they're attending or how it might just affect the surrounding area. This is going to reduce their confusion or anxiety, but it's also going to reduce the demand on your team of having to take phone calls or answer emails or texts and answer the same thing over and over again. The guest can just see that information and be happy and go on their way. Okay, poll number 3. Let's take another break here. And now that we've reviewed that, where do you feel you're most at risk of getting negative reviews during a high demand period like this? So, you're a host in a FIFA city. What are you most worried about missing, or where do you think your biggest holes are? Is it in that guest messaging and not being able to give them that sort of deliverable? Is it in the check-in experience? Do you feel like maybe you haven't quite got that part figured out? Or is it just everything? Is it just everything is kind of stressing you out and you need to do some work? Where is everybody feeling about that?
Giving everyone a few more moments, but I'm chuckling here, core, just at is it just everything? But as I
Yes.
guess myself, if I can't get into the property, I'm upset. Like
Yeah,
that's how I see it. But yeah, let's share these results with you and see what owners think. I'm
I
coming.
agree. Let's see what you guys think. But yes, you're right. If you can't get in the first place, that's kind of, you're starting off on the wrong foot. So,
Absolutely.
all right, let's see what we've got here. Okay, so we have a two-way tie. We've got a two-way tie on this one. So again, we're hearing that guest messaging and response time. So we're seeing a repetitive thing here. So good. I'm glad we're here talking about that today. And we still have those 78 days that we can start digging into it to start. Let's start writing some FAQs. Let's start giving some fact sheets for our staff so that they know how to answer it. And even sending some of that information out to the guests before they arrive. The other one that everybody's worried about is resonating what Nikki was saying, that check-in experience. That really is so important to make sure that you're nailing that. Because again, if the guest, the very first experience is that they can't get in, or they have to sit outside, or they haven't got their check-in details yet, they're just starting off on the wrong foot, and it just is starting their whole trip on this like, oh, what is going to come next if we can't get this part right? So the good news is we have some things that we can help you with this. We can help automate this and make this super, super smooth. So really, one of the things that we want to do here by solving these problems, we want those great guest reviews. We also want to just, before we dive into the products, touch a little bit on another opportunity that all of you have as hosts. So all of you really have this opportunity right now to turn these guests into repeat guests. We want to touch a little bit on some of the ideas we have that you can do that. You might have people that are coming to your town or to your region for the first time because of FIFA, and you really want to take this opportunity to say like, hey, let's make them fall in love with it and let's make them have such a great experience that they want to book again or tell their friends that their friends have to come here. So how can you do that? Well, make sure that you are taking control of the guest relationship. So even if that guest came in through another booking platform, through an OTA, try and figure out how you can collect their information. So, during that check-in process, how can you get their email? Is that via a guest portal or a digital guidebook, something like that? And build a direct line of communication with them. Try and figure out how they can be communicating with you rather than through that third party. That's a really important thing to try and break that barrier. Give them a reason to come back. So, send them information about, a savings. So, hey, book again with us next time and save 10%. Or even put them into an email of being like, hey, did you know that come back in the fall when the leaves are changing color? Or let them know that, hey, there's other times and other reasons to come here, even if they were coming strictly for FIFA. Reinforce your brand during the stay. This is one, again, when during the Olympics, when I was a property manager in Whistler, often, would have large homes, 12 guests staying in a home. And often maybe one or two guests were the ones who had booked with us. So they knew that they were staying with us, but all the other guests didn't. And so we really would try and have things like notepads or, travel mugs that were with our logo on it that they could take to the game or to the event with them. Even an umbrella that they could use if the weather wasn't great. All of these things get your brand in front of the guest. Amenities, you could have your brand on shampoo and soaps, just like a hotel does. That's really great to reinforce your brand. So they know that they're not staying with Airbnb, they're actually staying with you. So yeah, highlight your brand, get out there and invite them to come back. Try and build them out as a repeat guest, or even recommending other people so that you are getting repeat direct bookings. Okay, let's talk about how to solve these problems. At Operto, automation is everything to us. We're always saying the more that we can automate for you, the more you have time to go out and acquire more homes, get more bookings, look at growing your business. So let's talk about the things that we can help you automate. So using automation to help you basically make sure you're not going to break. So we like to say that, what breaks you when you continue to scale? So things that can break you and can start to fall apart when you all of a sudden have 40 or 50 homes, or you just have like all of your homes in a back-to-back changeover day. Manually scheduling. I mean, this is something that can just be a time suck. It can also be open to human error if you're doing everything manually. So we really think tackle this one. Don't be doing manual scheduling. Use something like Operto Teams to automate your scheduling and at least get it 85 to 90% presented, and then you can fine tune it. Messaging overload. You guys kept putting this one in the poll of saying it's a big concern for you. Automate your messaging. Automate sending out that directions to the property. Even a week before, send a message automating out of being like, hey, we recommend pre-booking at these restaurants because it's going to be busy. Or here are some other things you could do besides FIFA. Maybe there's some people in the group that aren't FIFA fans and maybe they want to go to a spa. Set up those templates and automatically set them to be triggered before the guest arrives or during their stay. Figure out how to get that visibility into your operations, whether that's forecasting of being able to see how much linen do we need, how many supplies do we need, how much staff do we need. So really work on getting the visibility prior to forecast, but also during those peak times so that you don't feel chaos. You know you can look at your dashboard, you know what's going on. And really try and look at what's disconnected right now. What isn't talking to each other that you could figure out how to bring it together. You want to make sure that if a guest extends their stay or something happens that they cancel their stay or you get a last minute booking in, you need everything to be connected to that reservation. So really look at where those things are falling through the cracks and you have time to get them connected. So we always say like, what can automation solve, or automate these things and then you're going to be able to continue to grow, get more bookings, get more homes. So yeah, automate the scheduling, centralize those tasks, make sure you have that real-time visibility, and automate guest communication. I mean, guests are still going to reach out to you, but if you can answer 80 to 90% of their questions beforehand, then it's going to save your team time and energy. So the other thing we always like to remind everybody is that, everyone has a tech stack. Having technology, that's not the must-have. It's making sure you have the right technology. So making sure that the tools you invest in have been thoughtfully implemented and that they work for your operations. Take a look at what are your biggest concerns. If they are your guest messaging, what tools do you currently have and what can you plug in or add on to it to make that part better? If it is, guests being able to have that smooth check-in, well, do you have something that's automatically generating the correct codes and sending that to your PMS or sending that to your guests? So really take the time now before this event or any peak peak season, peak event, to look at what's not working and then find the right tool for it. So, what do we have that can help you? As mentioned at the beginning of this, we kind of have three different pillars of things that can help. Let's talk about guest first, because guest communication kept popping up. So, Operto Guest can offer things like guest verification. So, this is making sure that it is actually the person who booked it. Are they of the correct age? Do you have an active credit card? So, verifying the guest. Digital guidebooks, you can create a digital guidebook for your brand and for that specific home so that the guest feels like, oh, they have something, a concierge right in their pocket for finding things that are close to the house or finding directions. Even being able to just put their access code right in the guidebook once that code is ready for them. And throughout their stay, they can just pull out their phone and reference their code. And again, this is a great way for you to get your brand in front of the guests because they can be seeing that they're staying with you, your company, and not just some Airbnb or booking.com. So great way for you to get your brand in front of them. It's also a great way that a lot of people don't want to have to necessarily download an app. And our guidebook is basically a web link. So once you send it to them, as long as they have an internet or a cell connection, it's going to work for them. They're not going to have to download a separate app to use this. Access. This is all about automating the check-in for your guest and trying to make it seamless hands-off. So how we can help here, we connect with thousands of different kind of locks, and with your PMS, we can generate unique time-bound codes for the reservation. If that reservation is changed, we will adjust the code. So if they extend their stay, it will extend the code and make sure that it's gated for when that guest is there. We can also automatically send that code to your PMS or put it in our guidebook or even just send it out in a message to the guest so that you're not having to worry about that. It just automatically goes out when it's supposed to. Personalized codes for your staff. It's easy for them to remember one code to get into all the units they have access to. Also gives you security to see which of your staff went into which of the units at what time. So yeah, this is going to help you get that visibility across your portfolio. What's happening with your hardware, what guests have checked in, not checked in, what staff members are where. That's Operto Access. Staff access, we just want to staff access. I want to just talk a little bit about this one, that there's some holes in here sometimes that people don't really think about. So as I mentioned, we can do dedicated codes for your staff members, but let's be honest, sometimes during these events, you might have to bring in some contracted cleaners that just need a code for a week, or maybe call in a plumber or someone to come and fix something. You can easily generate codes that are just available for that week or available for a 4-hour time period and send that to those people to get them in and out. And again, it gives you really great logs that you know who was in and out of the property at what time. So what staff members went, when did they leave, all of that, which can help with guest disputes or just making sure you're securing your property. Finally, we're going to talk about Operto Teams. Operto Teams is our automated scheduling platform. So this can help you automate cleaning, inspections, stay on top of maintenance tracking to make sure that when your team is reporting maintenance, nothing falls between the cracks. That maintenance issue is generated. It can be sent to the next person. You've got pictures and videos that help you timestamp and document where things were happening. And you can create custom checklists. And maybe a checklist needs to be different during the FIFA event because you're putting in additional supplies or things like that. You can easily adjust your checklists per home, per task. Great tool to make sure that even though your staff are overwhelmed, they can follow their checklist and make sure that they're not forgetting anything. So like seamless, simple automation. All of these things, automating messaging, automating access, automating your scheduling, this is going to really help you be able to not worry about these things of your operations and go focus on some other things. So focus on getting more reservations or maybe going to a game yourself. And then you'll get a notification should something go off track. It's going to help you plan as well with the forecasting of supplies and hours. So you'll be able to pre-plan and say, hey, I feel like I'm set up for success. Now I can go to the game, or I can even just sit and enjoy a coffee and not be going crazy the whole time that FIFA is in your city. So that sums up where I was at, but thank you for attending today. As attending, we also want to, we have a special offer for all of our attendees today. If you are interested in learning more about any specific product, guest access teams, or you want to learn about how the whole thing can work together with your PMS, we would love for you to book a demo. Scan the QR code here. If you book a demo and just book the demo, that's all you have to do is come and meet with us by April 30th. And then if you do proceed with adding any of Operto's products to your tech stack, you can receive 50% off for your first 2 months. Just use code FIFA 2026 when you're booking, and we'll know that you guys attended this. And we would love to be able to talk to you about how we can help you, or even where your holes or where your pain currently is. Yeah, how we can help you with that. Let's jump to Q&A. Do we have any questions after all of that
Right.
information downloading on you?
I know, Cora, there's so much, and I'm glad we were able to pare it down to kind of top five in different areas, but everything is so nuanced, and I
Yeah.
know this group could probably share many stories of what they've seen in the past. So, in the interim, if you want to just pop in your questions, there's a Q&A section. There's the chat as well. We'll just take a look here and see if anything comes through.
The other thing, while we're waiting for that, I mean, feel free to pop your questions in here, and we've got time to chat about them. But if you have something that was lingering in your mind that we didn't cover in these 5 items, because as mentioned, we know there's more than five. Please do book that demo with us so we can dive into your niche problem or what is keeping you up at night right now. And we'd love to try and chat through that with you to see how Operto might be able to help you, or maybe we've even heard similar things from some of our other customers, and we can just share knowledge. We're always open to doing that as well. Of how can we just make operations smoother? So yeah, either pop those into the Q&A. Or if you don't want to chat about them here, please scan that QR code and book some
Here's
time with us to talk.
There's a good question in here in the
Awesome.
Q&A, Corinne. What are some small upgrades I can make to improve the guest experience without increasing costs too much? And I mean, this resonates, right? This is a big event, but you don't want to reinvent your tech stack. So are there any small things you recommend?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. I'm going to relate back to when the Olympics came to Whistler. We had some homeowners that were like, I'm going to put a hot tub in because I know I'm going to, reap the rewards on that. But that's a big investment, and maybe you don't have the room for it. There's lots of other little things you can do. So some great ideas might be around. Let's think about some of the things that people might appreciate specifically around FIFA. My friend always lends me those great seat cushions that you can take so that you're not sitting on a cold seat when you're in the stadium. Or things like having umbrellas or even having blankets that you put out of saying like, yeah, take these to the game with you. Um, Having mugs or water bottles that they could take. So try and think about a few things like that they would be able to use while they're attending the games. I think things like that can be really great. But it's also really great to think about even when they're just at the home enjoying it. I mean, things like adding in, board games or things like that. These can be really easy ways that you can make the house feel great, but they don't have to have a really big price tag to them. The other thing I would just say is check your kitchens. Go into your kitchen, and if they're going to be having, a group get together to watch a match or watch a game, make sure you've got what they need. Do you have lots of bowls for chips? And do you have lots of plastic cups for their beer and their pop and all of that? So try and think about that when you're looking at an event as well. Are you set up for what they might be needing for that sort of thing?
That's great. Okay, Cora, we're almost at time, but we do have
Yeah,
time for one more question. So let's pop
amazing.
this in. Besides automated scheduling, what are some other tactics we can implement to help teams efficiently turn over homes on days with multiple back-to-backs?
It's a great question. Let me share with you some of the things that we did when we would have high turnover. So again, during the Olympics, when some of the events would turn over, I remember one day, I think we had 45 same day turnovers. And so some of the things we did with the team, this is a kind of a funny thing, but it actually goes a really long way, is that in the morning when everybody was coming in to collect their supplies, we had a little kit for everybody full of water and snacks and things like that to keep them going. Just a little thing that kind of kept them being like, okay, it's going to be a big day, but we're ready to get going. So that's a little thing you can do for the team. But think about things that you can divide. When someone walks into a vacation home, there's a lot of things that are going to be going on. So try and divide and conquer. Another customer shared a really great tip with me that during high peak seasons, they would have a dedicated person that would go around and just clean the barbecues. Cleaning barbecues is a really messy thing. And so that person could just go to 12 homes and just go outside and scrub and make sure the barbecue is perfect and not have to worry about that grease and everything getting mixed with everything else. You could have another person that goes around and just strips all of the bed and collects all of the laundry. So when the cleaning team comes in, one less thing. So think about things like that you can pick off that will not, then the team won't feel as overwhelmed when they go in. So I think those are some really little things you can do, but it'll make your day go a lot smoother.
Oh, Core, I know we're at time, but there's one more here from Jeremiah.
Awesome.
It's a good one. So, they have a match in their city, which is a to be determined, as it's
Mm,
against Iran and Egypt.
yeah.
It's based in Seattle. It's the same weekend as Seattle Pride as well. How do you handle the uncertain match, the communication around that?
Yeah, okay, this is going to be a very tricky one. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for you, but it's also that unknown opportunity. So I mean, it's great you're already thinking about this. So you're already in the right direction. What I would do with this scenario is I would start to prepare some communication for the different scenarios of what would happen. Okay, so what could you send out to people if the match is delayed or if something gets changed? What communication could you pre-prepare? Maybe even sending an acknowledgement of it to the people that are booking, of saying, hey, we know there's some uncertainty around this. So just to let you know, we've got our pulse on it and we'll keep you updated. So even addressing it right off the bat. So I think it might be really great to prepare some of those templates and have them ready to be automatically sent out. So you're getting ahead of it. Instead of the guest having to come to you to say, how am I going to know what's going on? You can let them know, hey, we're on it. We will keep you up to date and we're aware of it. Um, as for the conflicting events, I would really try and get as much information as you could about routes and what's happening to give people warnings. Again, going back to when we were in Whistler, but Whistler used to have a Ironman that would happen, and it would close down most of the city. And so we would start like 3 months beforehand, sending communication to our guests of being like, do you know if you're going to the airport, you need to leave like before 6 a.m. Otherwise, you're stuck. So start getting your team wrapped around things like that so you're prepared for where they need to go, but what they can tell their guests. Hopefully that helps, Jeremiah.
Yeah, and on that too, look at who is booked and reach out. I've had hosts reach out to me before. Are you here for X concert? And typically
Totally.
guests will respond, and it'll help you provide the right information.
And you're starting that rapport. You're already getting control of your guest communications. So I love that. Like, absolutely reach out and start the conversation prior to they've booked. So they're ready to start talking about it. They're excited about it.
Yeah, and maybe take a look at that cancellation policy too. So have
Good
that
point.
conversation and pulse check your cancellation policy. What do you need to do to maybe protect yourself? Do you need to tweak it or amend it, kind of for this special event? That's definitely an area I know I've seen some hosts update, particularly around like the Taylor Swift concert, for example, and certain house rules. They've actually amended that on their listings, prior to bookings.
And this actually just made me think of something else, hearing you say that. I mean, another thing you could have in your back pocket is that if the game is delayed or something happens, have some suggestions of what else they can do. What other things could they go do in your city so that they're not just sitting in the house upset because they missed this game. So have some family friendly things, some adult things of, hey, you know what? The game's not on, but look at all these other amazing things. That could be another way to really turn it around for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for staying with
Thank
us.
you.
Corinne, thank you to you. There was so many good tips and tricks in there. I hope everyone was able to take away something that they can put in motion as we continue the countdown. I think tomorrow will be what, 77 days until
Yes.
kickoff. So thank you, everyone. And as mentioned, we will share the recording, we'll share the slides with you as well. And we wish you all a wonderful remainder of your day.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone. Bye.